I'm Cesar Delgado from Back Roads of Illinois podcast. Welcome to the show with us. I am joining with Matt Brechwalch. Matt is a podcaster and farmer in Idaho. He was a police officer to turn a following farm broadcaster like me and Jesse Allen. Always in southern Idaho, that's where you're from.
That's right. Yeah, it's a nice day here today, Caesar. How are you?
Let's start with your story about your experience with law enforcement in Idaho. Okay, you said that okie dokie. I wanted to be a podcaster about agricultural industry and rural America. Could you tell it to our listeners?
Yeah, when I went to college and studied agriculture, Caesar, got a degree in animal science, and I worked on a couple of ranches and worked in the row crop industry and kind of worked all over agriculture during that time. And when I was graduating, I just couldn't find my place in agriculture, and I didn't know what to do for a living, but I had an interest in law enforcement, so I went ahead and pursued that and went home to California, actually, where I grew up, and became a police officer and a sheriff's deputy, and then ultimately moved up to Idaho, and I spent the next 12 years as a police officer for the city of Boise, Idaho, before I started my first business.
What is your opinion on this decade of new generation of a new podcaster and work in this industry? I will say that I do really like to listen to respective of these new approach.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been podcasting for about a decade, almost 10 years. And when I began, there were very few people podcasting in the agricultural space. So I'm very excited that there's so many people joining, and we're getting to have such a diverse array of different agricultural shows. It's great that it's happening, and it's a great place to share agriculture's message, because farmers and ranchers and people working in agriculture, they're busy and they don't have time to sit in front of a computer and read a blog, and they don't have a lot of time to sit in front of a television and watch shows, but they can listen to a podcast while they're working. So it's a great venue for agriculture.
True story. Do you have opinion on this corn crop for this year?
Can you repeat that question?
Do you have opinion on this corn crop for this year?
Well, I don't really have one, just because I grew some corn, but I'm a small farmer and we're really niched, and we direct market everything right to our customers. So in terms of, the bushel price, commodity prices, inputs, all of that, I'm kind of separated off from that. So I don't know a whole lot about the way the crop is going this year, sir.
How did you decide to take an American Degree Award for your community?
That was a really, really easy decision. I had been interviewing FFA students for 8 years at the point that I was nominated, and I didn't even know I was nominated. I just found out that I had been selected and that I was going to be receiving the American degree from the National FFA at the national convention. And it's such an honor. I mean, there was no thinking about it for me, really. I was so flattered and so honored that it was an immediate yes, and I was just ecstatic. I was very excited.
Finally, what is your advice to young people who want to be a farm broadcaster or a podcaster?
My advice is to start. Just don't wait. Just get started. Anybody can start a podcast. Your first podcast doesn't have to be the best quality ever. And if you want a podcast, just start doing it. And once you get good at it, nobody's going to listen to your first episodes and judge you on that. They're going to listen to what you're doing right now, and they're going to judge you based on what you're doing right now. So I would say start. For people who are thinking farm broadcasting or podcasting, I would say listen to both. Farm broadcasting, if you do it for a radio station, is going to be quite a bit different than podcasting. I mean, all you have to do is listen to my shows and realize that I'm all over the place and I have long form interviews, and it's very, very easy for me to do versus being really tight on time frames and things like that on the radio.